Welcome to Solo Pro Radio. It's the only resource for self-employed professionals to grow their business. I'm Barbara Saunders, the Solo Pro Success Coach, and it's my mission to help brilliant creative solo pros go from floundering to flourishing. And I do that as the director of the International Association of Self-Employed Communication Professionals and as the founder of the Solo Pro Academy, where I have programs focused specifically on helping solo pros build a profitable, custom-fit business. Swing on by soloprosuccess.com and pick up your free Income Accelerator Success Kit. If you'd like to join us, zip over to Solo Pro Radio on Facebook and like our page. You'll be able to ask questions, get to know our co-hosts, and find resources to help you connect and grow.
Let me ask you, as a solo pro, are you struggling to get clients interested in your services and offerings? You trying to make yourself stand apart from the crowd? Well, it's not your fault. Decades of school and working in corporate positions have conditioned us to be a pack sort of person. In school, you were taught to sit in nice, neat little rows and do exactly what everyone else was doing. In a job, you were to sit in nice, neat little cubes, dress alike, talk alike, just keep your head down and hope no one really notices you. Laying low does not work for solo pros. Let's take a few lessons from foxes. Our little foxy friends, they don't get stuck in the pack. They know how to build a smoking hot business. First off, you need to be clever. You need to zero in on the one thing that you do best. Find how it intersects with the thing you are most passionate about. Odds are that'll be your foxy sweet spot. When you put your effort there, you'll be in the zone and ideas will flow easily. A clever solo pro always has one eye on their bottom line, so be sure you're finding a way to monetize your work. Clever solo pros don't give away their time for free. Maybe you're a business coach that's passionate about organic food movement. Well, your foxy sweet spot might be working with small organic farms or nutrition coaches. It's a little different. You also want to be sly. See what others see, but bring your own interpretation to it. If you see certain populations struggling with something that you find easily, go and create the solution for them. Other service providers are not picking up on it, and you're the inside track. Paying attention to trends and microtrends can pay off big for foxy solo pros. For example, thousands of boomers are retiring and being laid off daily. They want to create income, but they're intimidated by the internet. Can you teach them a simple way to get started? Or maybe working moms are so distracted by trying to do too many things at once. Can you create a package of systems to automate many of their tasks? Bring your cleverness to bear and think of different solutions to the unique problems of a segment of your niche. Here's another tip from the fox. Be agile. A fox is quick. They can cover an astonishing amount of rugged ground like the wind. They're very physical. Their physical makeup makes it possible for them to slither through narrow passages, glide around obstacles, and leap over barriers to pounce on opportunities. Being flexible is an essential component to any solo pro business model. And related to that, you want to be nimble. Nimble is related to agile, but it's something more. Being nimble has to do with keeping your business lean with a low overhead. It's also having a message and a business plan that's free of clutter and extra fluff. It's being light on your feet and being able to make quick decisions, to change direction on a dime when you needed to. It's also being up to date with what's going on in your field. And lastly, be foxy. Of course, the foxy solo pro must be foxy. Keep your website, your online profiles polished and updated. Don't fall into the trap of letting your website, which is your business storefront, don't let it get old and tacky. Often that's the first avenue of contact for potential clients. So keep your website and your online profiles as foxy as possible. And here's one more bonus foxy tip. Come out of the foxhole once in a while. Yes, I know it's cozy and warm and safe in your solo pro foxhole, but foxes are social, and they need to get out and mingle once in a while. So climb on out of your foxhole, bushy up your tail, and meet other solo pro foxes or potential clients. Now, I want to let you know I have a new short course coming up soon that is called 14 Hot Ways to Monetize Your Offer to Stand Out in a Crowded Marketplace. So you want to stay tuned to Solo Pro Radio for more info, or you can zip on over to soloprosuccess.com and pick up my free Income Accelerator Success Kit, and you will get a free subscription to my e-zine, the Solo Pro News, in the bargain. So you'll become among the first to know when my programs are scheduled. Since we're talking about being social, like a sociable little fox there, I wanted to welcome my guest today, Morgan Barnhart. She's the founder of Sociable Boost. It's a social media consulting and training firm located in San Antonio, Texas, and she's been helping large and small businesses with their social media needs for the past 6 years. She has over a decade of social media and internet marketing experience, and her mission is to help build fun, actionable, and social strategies for local businesses. She's truly bringing sociable back to social media. Welcome, Morgan.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to kind of chat with you because, I have to admit, social media is one of my favorite little things to play in the background when I'm supposed to be working.
Yeah, I hear you.
And I love that you say you're bringing social back. That seems to be something that really has gotten lost in business over the decades. Tell me how you got that. How did you come to create Sociable Boost?
Well, I've been involved in social media, before it was even, for businesses for so long, and it's just kind of, became like a calling for me, and I've been helping, actually employed by large businesses to help them with their social media for several years, and I just realized that there were so many other people that I could be helping, and I decided to branch off on my own to be able to have that freedom to fully focus on helping other businesses instead of just one business with their social media strategies, because, as you were saying, so many people are struggling with it, and, with especially the social aspects of things. So, yeah, that's basically it.
Well, definitely. I think a lot of, especially solo pros, they get hung up in trying to do marketing and, promotion, all that stuff like the big boys. And they forget that really when you're a solo pro, you're selling you. And trying to get your clients interested and to trust you and your credibility. And so the social piece is really, I think, even more important for the small business.
Yeah, I agree. Having great content and, trying to, share a bunch of other content and stuff and trying to tell people, you are an expert, isn't going to, do anything for you. It's just going to, maybe push people away. And, as a solopreneur, you're trying so hard to tell people, I'm amazing, but you have to do it in a very sociable way, by building those relationships first, before ever talking about anything that you ever do. So
definitely, it's kind of more show and tell than it is that old school broadcasting.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like if you were to come up with someone in real life and say, hey, come check out my business or something, they're probably not going to do it because, one, they're a complete stranger, which is what everybody is online, right?
Exactly.
And you're telling them to come check out your business without trying to even start a conversation or, say hi or, anything. Before that, friends and acquaintances are more than happy to share each other's businesses and help each other out, but it's just getting to that point, and a lot of people feel like they just don't have that time, to build that relationship, but you have to make that time. So
that's true. I always think I was actually a marketing director way back in the dawn of time last century. And I think, old school marketing tactics kind of remind me of that kind of creepy guy with the pickup lines. Rather than the nice, comfortable person who comes in and starts a conversation and gets to know you first.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Well, tell me a little bit. I know things seem to change so quickly today on the social media front, and it seems so overwhelming. Talk to me a little bit about what you see going on, kind of from the inside front.
Well, oh man, it's a loaded question kind of thing because, social media is changing just every day. And, not only do I have to keep up with changes, but I have to, then inform my audience of these changes. And it can get pretty overwhelming, but,
Yeah.
you gotta find those sources of information, like the websites that you trust the most, the people that you trust the most to give you that information and so you're not so overwhelmed. So you are getting daily information instead of, you hear about Google Plus, several months later and then, all of a sudden now you're just trying to get into it, but it's so overwhelming because you don't know exactly all the changes and everything that's been going on with it, or how to use it, but by keeping up with the changes and stuff every single day, you can try to at least not be so overwhelmed and, you can at least know kind of what's going on instead of, just jumping into it one day. So,
is there some kind of basics that you suggest your clients kind of pay attention to and let the rest fall away, or is it more of a individual basis type thing?
Yeah, it's pretty individual. Every business is so different. They're each going to have their own very special strategies for each business. And, while there are certain basic things, like, let's be social and share other people's content and stuff like that, as far as, like, who to connect with, how to connect with people, where to go to connect with people, and what content to share is going to be really, really different from everyone. So, it's really just individual based kind of thing.
So that's why they would come to somebody like you to kind of help them zero in on what they need to concentrate on.
Right, exactly. Because a lot of people do think that they need certain things. They hear all these gurus and experts saying you need this and you need that, and your business sucks if it doesn't have this. And it's not true because you just can't say that to every business. That's just not possible. Every business works completely different.
Definitely. And I wanted to ask a little bit, I know there are a lot of components. There's the LinkedIn and the Facebook and the Pinterest and the bookmarkings. There's so many things, so many moving parts. Yeah. What is the social aspect? You say you're bringing social back to social media. That kind of sounds like more a core thing rather than an application. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it is very much core. When you're first starting out, you're going to have probably 0 followers, 0 likes, 0 everything. So you're going to have to get out there and prove yourself in some way. And you're not going to get out there and start, telling people, this is my business and this is why I'm amazing. You're going to say, hey, I really like your business and what you're doing. Tell me more about you. And you're going to create this relationship with those people either through Twitter or Facebook or even just commenting on their blog. And over time, it varies depending on the person and the business, but I've created relationships over just in a few weeks. They'll start asking you, let's get together and, talk about maybe some collaborative, efforts that we can do together, that kind of thing. But by first opening up and asking them about them, you're creating that friendship and that relationship, and you're being social. It's like how you meet any of your friends in real life. How do you meet them? You get involved with their lives. You talk to them. You're friendly and stuff like that. So it's kind of bringing that same concept back online, and I think it's been lost online because you're not face to face with that person. Mm-hmm. So people forget that they're dealing with a real life human being instead of a computer, or just like, or a Twitter handle or something. They're dealing with a real person, and we need to bring back that respect for the real person, and just generally being social and friendly. So.
That intrigues me because, usually we think of, okay, we get onto Twitter and we kind of burst a message out to the entire group, or we're on LinkedIn groups or something and we burst something out to the entire group. It intrigues me that you say, no, pick out one or two people within that group and zero in and find out more about them individually.
Mm-hmm.
That's, what a concept.
Right. Yeah. People don't even think about that. They just think about the whole picture and like, I can reach all these people, but it's not about the whole picture there. So
that's intriguing. Now, let me ask kind of a loaded question. Okay, you're picking someone from this group. Do you have a strategy behind who you pick to talk to? Are you picking the bigwigs or the connectors, the person who maybe tweets the most? Who is that strategy that you decide to reach out to first?
Honestly, I try not to talk to the influencers and the bigwigs too much because they have so much on their plate already, and they already have so many people trying to beg for their attention that it's just not worth the time to put into, trying to get their attention to something that you may be doing that, seems similar to so many other people that are trying to get their attention. So instead of trying to get the influencers' attention, I actually go towards the people who are really, really struggling. I'm here to help people. So when I, go into a LinkedIn group or, answers or something, I focus in on that person who is asking a lot of questions or is just sounds so confused. And, obviously I don't pitch them right away, but I just say, if you have any questions, let me know. I see you're struggling. I offer everything for free up front, and that really builds that trust. So I always suggest to people to just find the people who are most struggling. The influencers aren't struggling. You're not there to help them. You're there to help the people that are actually struggling and that actually have a problem to solve. So while the influencers are nice, and in time, after you build up your community and stuff, the influencers will take notice, and you'll take notice of the influencers, and you guys will share each other's information and stuff, but that comes later. At first, you're going to want to build that relationship with, the smaller people and stuff like that don't have that knowledge yet or need your assistance in some way.
That's an excellent tip. Thank you so much for sharing that strategy with us. I think that would have, that's kind of an I want to say it like an uncovered jewel there, because I think that you're right. People would want, I want to be seen by the big people, but you're really, that's a brilliant strategy to kind of pick out the person who needs your help, and it gives you the opportunity to show your expertise, as you're helping this person up, and yes, all of the other people in the group are watching and they're listening, so they're seeing that too, so thank you. That's a brilliant strategy. Everybody,
no problem.
Write that down.
Yeah, it's important.
There seems to be, so many moving parts with social media. We just talked about a little bit about Twitter, a little bit about LinkedIn. How do you manage to keep them all and keep everything going in the same direction?
Well, that's a good question. I've been dealing with this for a while, so I kind of have each person's going to have their own little strategy on how to deal with sharing content, when they should share content, how often they should share content, how many platforms they have, that kind of thing. I really only focus on two platforms, on Facebook and Twitter. When people are first getting involved, I tell them really only focus on one platform at a time. I was working with a client once that wanted to work on 3 or 4 platforms at a time, and I said, well, you've never worked with social media before, so you're going to get so overwhelmed that you're going to want to quit before we even get started. So, and she just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. So I said, okay, I'll help you. I'll teach you a little bit about these platforms and, start getting involved with these, and we'll see where it goes from there. Because everybody can be different, maybe she is a really quick learner, maybe she can multitask really well, so I decided to put my faith in her. And that was wrong because she did get overwhelmed, and within 2 months, she was saying, I don't like this anymore, I'm really overwhelmed, I thought you were going to do more stuff, and anyway, so she just kept, she was very overwhelmed, and she actually, we had to part ways because she wasn't ready, and, you really have to be aware, everybody is so anxious to get into social media, and you have to be aware of what you can actually do, and listen to those that have been doing it for a while. But anyway, there are so many tools to help you. Like there's the Buffer app to help you share content on Twitter without having to
just come on the horizon just this last couple weeks for me. Talk to me a little bit about Buffer.
Yeah, Buffer is really great, actually. It's free to start, and they do have like a pro, which I have, but that basically just allows you to have more Twitter accounts, and I think that's about it. But anyway, Buffer, you can add a bunch of content. It's basically just throwing a bunch of content into the Buffer app, and it'll schedule those tweets to go out at specific times. And so you can schedule content to be shared on your Twitter for weeks, months if you want, if you have that much content. Sharing your own content and other people's content. And you don't ever have to worry about it again. So now you have all this content set up on Buffer to be automatically tweeted out. And now you can focus more on the engaging aspect without having to worry about sharing that content and getting it out at an appropriate time,
So maybe sit along with campaigns that you've got going out. You can kind of schedule the burst for that campaign or something.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah. It really works really well for that. And like I'll share pages from my website, and I'll say, if you want some free training or something like that to kind of entice people. I have a free tools page, and I say, I love this really free tool, and then I'll submit that to Buffer, and so it'll just be kind of released over time instead of tweeting about a whole bunch of information at one time and, overwhelming my Twitter people and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's really great.
Oh, good point. Okay, so you can also maybe schedule things to go out when you're not actually physically there monitoring your Twitter stream.
Exactly. Yeah, that's another really good advantage because you really want something to go out each day. So, maybe when you're not on it on Saturday or Sunday, Buffer can still be releasing tweets so that it looks like you're still active. And that'll be really good for your presence there.
Very cool. Let me ask you another question. I know we have like Google alerts and I think it's social for those things that tell you who's tweeting your name and who's mentioning you out there. Is there a kind of an app that kind of brings that all together for you? I love tools. I'm a geek. I love these little tools, that help make it so much simpler. Does Boost kind of help do that for you? Kind of help you track all your threads that you've got going on and how people are mentioning you, or is that something else?
There are programs that can help you. I'm forgetting the names right now, to be honest. There are a couple programs though that you can bring everything into, and it'll show you, like the statistics of who you're engaging with, how many new followers you have, how many new likes you have, all that kind of stuff. So there are definitely programs in which can help you kind of track all that and keep you on track or tell you, what's working, what's not working. But I'm pretty sure with a Google search you can find like social tracking or something like that.
Oh, good point. Yeah, there's so many cool little tools out there. What do you usually get your clients set up with to make it simple for them if they listen to you?
Yeah. Well, I like to get them set up with Buffer, and I like to get them set up with social mention, which is kind of like Google Alerts, but it's for like it'll pull like if anybody talks about you like on Facebook, it'll pull that, and that's pretty rare because with Google Alerts, I haven't seen anything like that. With Google Alerts, pulling like a status message, something like that. But social mention will do that for you, and there's obviously Google Alerts, and that's those are the three that I really start them out with because those are the easiest to manage, and it helps them kind of get started in realizing how important monitoring is, and how important it is to continually have a presence. So.
Very cool. Well, I want to take this moment to remind our listeners you're listening to Solo Pro Radio. It's the only radio station specifically for self-employed professionals to build their business, and we are talking to Morgan Barnhart of Sociable Boost, and we're going to dive right back in. I have to admit, I love the geeky side sometimes of social media. There's just so many cool things that you can do, and what I love, is I can send a message out or send a comment out, and somebody in South Africa will respond to me, and you have a conversation with this expert in Australia or Spain. It's so cool. It really gives you the opportunity to really be a globally based expert.
Absolutely, yeah. And not only for global, though, it's actually really easy to be a localized expert as well, depending on what you want to do. A lot of people think that when you get into social media that, you're only going to be global and that kind of stuff. But, while global, you'll reach people all across the globe, obviously, and you want to. But there's definitely so many tools and so many websites and so many places that can help you actually get localized as well to be an expert in that field as well. So.
Great point. Especially one of the things that solo pros really, really struggle with is this isolation factor. They sit in their home office, and you're right, they've got this computer screen, and maybe an answer to a blog post or something will pop up, but there isn't really a feeling of being connected. Mm-hmm. And that's an excellent point to say that, you can really connect to your local people, too, and keep that that relationship. I actually have a friend who's about 3 miles away. This is pathetic. We both are in our home office, and every once in a while we have to reach out and say, we need hot chocolate.
That's a good tactic. You got to remind each other to get out.
So that again is kind of the social side of it. Sometimes you need to have that rallying point. You got to get away from your desk now. Let's go do something fun.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the things about social media is that you can actually meet people locally, through Twitter or Facebook or wherever, and then connect with them face-to-face. I mean, social media is a great way to facilitate face-to-face conversations, which is what a lot of local businesses, strive for, is that face-to-face. So I actually use meetup.com.
Yeah.
And I love meetup.com, and you can hold your own little workshops, and you can get out there and to networking events and stuff like that, and it's social online and social offline. It's a really great combination of them. So
that intrigues me a little bit. Let's talk a little bit more about how you use this local social media tools for more local kind of experiences. How do you what's a kind of a campaign or a workflow around something like that?
Well, like I said, meetup.com is a really good resource for that. And also LinkedIn can be a really good place to find local groups that have networking meetings and things. Mm-hmm. I've been to a lot of LinkedIn groups and, in person, and they're really great. So, and then there's just generally, finding people on Twitter and Facebook, finding local businesses and people to connect with offline, by doing just a simple search. And, first connecting with them online and then, building that relationship and then saying, hey, you want to go get a cup of coffee and talk about, whatever? I've done that several times, and that always leads to great things. So, just not forgetting about your local audience, through Meetup and LinkedIn. I mean, you're definitely going to have to get out of your office to go do these things for your local audience, but it's really worth it.
That's an interesting tip, and I have to tell you, I do get into the geeky side of it, but I had never thought of pulling Meetup.com into like the social media realm.
Yeah, not many people do because it's, meeting people in real life, but if you think about it, you're socially interacting with these people online to build that offline connection. So it's working very well in tandem together.
Great. And let's, just for our listeners maybe who aren't familiar with Meetup.com, can you give them a little thumbnail sketch of what it is exactly?
Yeah, basically, you can find local groups in your area. They can be either for professional networking groups or just for fun hobbies. They have crafting or writers groups and all these types of groups that other people have started in the area. And then a whole bunch of people in the area join that group, and then they join a meetup, which is happening at a specific time, specific place. And then they all get together and they discuss, their interests, or they talk about their writing, or they meet other business owners in the area, or, whatever the group is about. So it's really, really great to not only meet new people, but to talk about your interests. And it's totally free to join any group. So.
Yeah, it's very cool. I have a couple of groups that I'm active in, and what's cool is that they actually send you an email. I don't know if it's every month or every week, maybe every 2 weeks, where they tell you all the different meetups in your area. And some of them you never have thought of. Some of them are really weird, but some of them...
Yeah.
So
that's really nice.
Really a tip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's a great opportunity maybe to go give a talk, or even just show up and tell people, what's different about you. So a great example of how you can present yourself as an expert.
Yeah, actually, I'm glad you mentioned giving a talk, because one thing that I do is I contact local groups that I think would be interested in a little presentation about social media, and I contact them and, I ask them, and I've gotten a lot of speaking engagements that way because people are very interested in that, and they have a lot of live speakers anyway. So don't be afraid to contact the local groups and ask, hey, can I speak at your event? Obviously don't charge anything or anything, but just, be very friendly about it. Say, I want to speak at your event and give value and, talk to your people about this. So that's a really great opportunity as well.
Excellent, and it's a very good way to start out that social field because, when you go to a networking, I have two sides to my personality. A lot of times when I would go to those networking events, kind of as just the attendee, I would find myself sort of hiding behind the plant.
Yeah,
because it's a big room and I don't want to deal with it. But when you go as a speaker, you got to talk.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So
I get so nervous as a speaker, but it's a lot of fun.
And it does bump you up as the expert, but you're there to talk and you're there to schmooze, so it does get you out and get you talking and bring out that sociable side to you. It's a great tip.
Absolutely, yeah.
Let me ask you, would you be willing to maybe share some possible workflow of tasks, actual action plans that you kind of develop for your clients, what they would do during each day?
Oh, really good question. So we don't get so involved with social media. I mean, I'm a social media specialist, but even I think that I'm kind of on social media too much, and I don't get a lot done. So, I have to feel for my clients in this way because I know that they can get that way too. And something that I suggest is spend an hour in the morning, an hour in the afternoon, and then an hour in the evening. I mean, max. You don't have to spend, exact hours. I mean, if you get everything done in 30 minutes, great. But schedule those hours so that you're not spending all day on social media, and you can get everything done in those hours. You know how to do everything in those hours. Like in the morning, I'll check Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and email and stuff like that, and maybe I'll write a blog post for that morning if I haven't already. That can take up that hour. And then in the afternoon, I'll maybe reply to some comments that I got. I'll kind of check out, Facebook and Twitter again, and then, maybe I'll tweet out some content that I found very interesting, maybe engage in some conversations on Twitter and Facebook and that kind of thing. And then in the afternoon, I'll go read some blog posts and, maybe find some networking events and that kind of thing. Just whatever your strategy is, but cut into those hours and make sure that you're actually doing things that need to be done in those hours by actually scheduling things to get done in those hours. And you're only going to do it in those hours. I know it's really hard to do that, and I even get sidetracked a lot, but it's really important to schedule what you're going to do in those hours and actually do those things in those hours. And, you don't have to be on social media all day. You're going to miss a lot of conversations. You're going to miss a lot of content, yeah, but it doesn't matter. During those hours, you will find enough content and enough conversations to get involved with. So,
you made two really interesting points. One, you talked about your blog, which I'm going to come back to, but you also talked about sharing other people's content. That's interesting because a lot of people think, I have to create all this content. You don't have to. You can be a resource that shares it and passes it on.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, being a resource, I get a lot of retweets just off of other people's content that I tweet out because, you're trying to position yourself as an expert in that field. So, why not, you're not going to talk about everything, so why not share other people's content that is talking about that certain topic or whatever. So, it's all a very give and take in social media. So, you don't want to just share your own content. You want to be helpful, and that's a really great way to expand your community as well by sharing other people's content, because then those people are going to notice you and be like, hey, thanks for sharing my content. You guys will, get into a little relationship building there too. So.
Well, and it's a great tip. There's kind of an implied relationship when you're sharing someone else's content. I have a kind of a funny little story. I'm sure you've heard of Denise Wakefield, who is a big social media expert out there, and I just think she's brilliant. So I kind of retweet a lot of things that she says, and I have people coming up and say, "Oh, you must be such good friends with her." Whatever, never.
Yeah.
But there is an implied relationship there. So you're kind of placing yourself among the experts when you're sharing their information. That's a great tip.
Exactly.
And I wanted to touch back on blogs. You mentioned a blog, doing your blog as the, like the first part of your hour or whatever. Let's chat a little bit about blogs because we kind of missed that as part of your social media campaign. It really is, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Sharing other people's content is great, and it builds the community and your expert status as well. But creating your own content is going to be so important. And you don't have to blog every day. You don't have to blog multiple times a day. You don't even have to blog twice a week. Just once a week is actually is perfect. And it doesn't have to be a long essay. It just has to get the point across and be actionable content for your, or just informative content for your audience. So by creating a blog post a week, you're giving your own information and, again, positioning yourself as an authority in that field, because now you're actually telling people information instead of just sharing the information. So, yeah.
Well, talk to me a little bit about, this raging debate of the blog versus the email newsletter. What are your thoughts there? Is there
Oh,
space for the email newsletter?
you know, everybody says that you have to have an email newsletter, but you really don't have to have one. I mean, I have a good amount of subscribers, but honestly, I don't really use the email newsletter all that much because I don't know. Like, I feel like people are using email newsletters these days to just send out like their things to buy, or very salesy letters. And in order to get away from that, you want to. There's this one email newsletter, this one person who has a blog, and she sends out a newsletter maybe once a month, and it's just telling a story. She just tells like this personal story, and she says kind of what she's learned from it, and then she just gives a little link at the bottom, very unintrusive, and just says, "Hey, here's my latest blog post," or whatever, and that's it. And I love it because she's promoting her blog, but she's also building that personal relationship with the subscriber instead of just selling something to them or being pushy or whatever, or saying, this is what's going on in my life and whatever. So I don't think an email newsletter is absolutely necessary. If you think you can use it, if you think that there's going to be value in that newsletter outside of your blog and outside of all the other content that you give, then definitely consider it. But have a plan for the newsletter first. And, the blog and the newsletter are not, one and the same. And they don't have to coexist with each other if you just don't have a plan for the newsletter.
That's a great point. Thanks for sharing that. I know with the advent of, having your blog being RSS feed, the need for the email list has kind of changed a little bit. So it's interesting to get your take on that.
That's a really good point with the RSS feed. I see a lot of blogs with just like a feed burner sign up, and that could be enough, So some people just want the blog sent directly to their email each time you update. So, that could be enough. So.
Yeah, it's one of those moving targets, and it's kind of fascinating how it's changing and shifting. To me, anyway. I find it interesting.
Yeah, no, it totally is, yeah.
Well, I'm so excited. This has been a fun conversation, and I can't believe we're almost towards the end of the hour, but I wanted to make sure that we got in and talked about how can people work with Morgan? How can they come and work with Social Boost? And what kind of ways are there for them to work with you?
Well, you can kind of learn all about me and see some of my informative blogs and that kind of stuff at my website at sociableboost.com. And then I also tweet out a bunch of stuff on my Twitter at twitter.com/Morgan Barnhart. And then I'm on Facebook at facebook.com/sociableboost. So those will all be kind of a really great resource for y'all to get to know me and then ask any questions. I love to answer questions. So
I also see that you've got a YouTube channel. Do you do videos as well?
Yes, I do have a YouTube channel. It's under Sociable Boost. I do a weekly video tip. It's normally about 3 minutes long or so, but yeah, that can be found on the website too.
Oh, cool. And you also have some upcoming online social media courses that you teach. What are some of those about?
Yeah, I actually decided, I get so many questions about Twitter, Facebook and all these things, and I decided to, while I love to answer them each individually, I decided to start a online training course where it's going to be, each course is going to delve into something different. It'll be a Twitter course, and then how to engage, and then how to, find new followers, and how to get new likes on Facebook, and how to do this, all the different kind of aspects of social media. And some will be free, and then some will be for subscription-based. But for the most part, there'll always be like a free intro and that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping they're going to be really detailed and answer a lot of questions and help people out a lot and help people in the masses instead of helping individually. So
interesting. Okay. Very cool. And so I want to make sure people know you can connect with Morgan at sociableboost.com or connect with her on Twitter at Morgan Barnhart. And it's Barnhart, isn't it? Barnhart.
Yes.
Make sure we get that right.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can swing by her YouTube channel, which is Sociable Boost, no spaces, and get maybe a weekly tip there. Very fun. I want to let our listeners know next week on Solo Pro Success, my guest is going to be Alaya Williams, and we're going to be talking about organizing your business. How fun is that going to be?
Cool.
Join us tomorrow for Friday Free-for-All, when we're going to share some of our business experiences with 4 of our business experts. On Monday, be sure to drop by because we're starting our new segment, Money and Your Marketing Plan, which is what you definitely need. You need to know the money so that you can get the marketing plan out. And our guest is going to be Bob Steinkamp, who is a PR marketing expert. And we are going to be joined with Susan Rich from Susan Rich Talks, who's heard right here on the Women for Women Network just 2 hours earlier on the Susan Rich Talks show. And we are going to be chatting about making your money goals and then creating the marketing plan to hit them. On Tuesday, we want to join Bonnie Marie Kuhn, who is our Entrepreneurs in Focus Hour. And on Wednesday, Smarter, Better, Richer, Jackie is actually talking to a extraordinary woman who is a glass expert. She builds glass mobiles, and Jackie's going to be digging into how she makes that business work in today's economy. So join us again next week for Solo Pro Radio. And again, I want to thank Morgan. Thank you so much for all the fascinating info that you've shared. Some of the tips and tools that you mentioned today were Buffer.com and Social Muncheon, as well as Meetups. Who would have thought of that?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
What a fun conversation. Yeah, so we will see you again tomorrow on Solo Pro Radio. Thanks for listening.